but it's close.
And that's where I can start making my argument.
There you go.
Because honestly, so I've got, for what we're getting at here is I've got Hunter at 1, and he's got McMillan at 1. I've got McMillan 2. And again, it's microscopically close. These are two of
it's 1A, 1B.
These are like two of the 6 or 7 best football players in this draft. So really, you could flip a coin, and for as much as I like to say you're wrong, I don't think either of us is necessarily wrong here. Look, Hunter for me at receiver, the more I watched him at receiver, because there's so many guys that can go out to receiver, especially if they're doing the two-way thing. And obviously, there's not many that it's just like, okay, this is a freakish athlete. We know this, right? And if it was just that, then I'd probably be with you. But we talk about his football IQ all the time. It shows up at receiver. The subtleties in the route running, I think when he catches the football, and you talk about guys, there's guys who are explosive after the catch with the ball in their hands, but you talk about having a plan, right? Thinking, it just feels like we talk about at corner, okay, he's always a step ahead. He's the same way at receiver. Like the anticipation when he catches the football, even facing the line of scrimmage, of knowing where defenders are at, and his vision in the open field after the catch, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like you even look at what was the long play that he took for like 60 yards after the catch against BYU. I mean, how many times do we see him do that? And it feels like he's always a step ahead. Like there's just a different level of awareness before the catch into his routes. I think he's a much better route runner than people give him credit for. And between beating zone coverage, beating man coverage, and setting up defenders, on top of just being a spectacular athlete, I think that's all in there. The spatial awareness to know in zone coverage where he needs to be. We've seen him, there's certain times where he just kind of leans one way. Was it against Cincinnati at the end of the first half where he had a long touchdown against like cover 2, I think it was, and he just kind of leaned away, and Shedeur obviously threw a great ball because he threw a lot of those to him. But I just think with Hunter, and then you talk about the ball skills, I mean, it's just ridiculous. We've seen this guy catch balls, what was it, the North Dakota State one in the end zone, like as he's being interfered with twice over. There's times when he's been horizontal catching the football. I mean, he's a freak of nature, but I don't think he's a great receiver just because he's a freak. And the way he moves, if he was a receiver full-time, to me, he moves like Justin Jefferson. I really see that, where I'm just like, he's the combination of freakish athleticism, spatial awareness, and then the IQ to know, because I think he does take everything he knows about coverages, he brings it over the offensive side. And I think he takes everything he knows about route running, and he takes it over the defensive side. This is how high a football IQ Travis Hunter has. So all of that together, I think if he did decide to play receiver full-time, I really do think he would be the best one out of this group. I think he'd be a top 5 or 6 receiver in the NFL.
This is so hard putting at number 2, because like I said, Travis Hunter is my number 1 player in this draft, but he's special, man. And he has elite ball skills, and you say that a lot often, and you think, okay, for a corner, he's got elite ball skills. No, he's elite ball skills for wide receivers as well. He makes some jaw-dropping catches due to his hands and his bounce, honestly, as well. Only a 1.8% drop rate over the last 2 years, and he's caught about a 65% of his contested catch targets over the last 2 years as well. 96 percentile GAS score. He's an elite athlete. He's been one of the nation's best receivers despite playing full-time corner as well. Won the Heisman Trophy, obviously, and won the Biletnikoff Award this past season. 89 receiving grade, 6th in the country. He had the 3rd most receiving yards in the Power 4. Only Ted McMillan and Jeremiah Smith had more this past season. 15 receiving touchdowns, tied with Jeremiah Smith for the most in the Power 4 as well. Now, why the very few things I could find in his tape, then why I had McMillan over him. He could stand to add some weight. He's 6'1", 185 pounds right now. Is about Chris Olave's size. I think that he's not as physical after the catch as you'd want. Like, he's not going to break that many tackles. He does, like I said, has a great awareness of spatial awareness of the lanes to take to make long touchdowns after the catch, but he's not going to break that many tackles. He only had 4.3 yards after the catch per reception over the last 2 years. It's about over 1 yard fewer than McMillan did. So despite a relatively average at the target as well. So he's not always going to find the soft spots in zone coverage as well as others in this class. I think he'll have a lot to be desired as a blocker, but again, that's understandable when he never comes off the field, right? It's like, dude, if you want Travis Hunter to block for you, it's like, what else do you want?
If he's playing every snap at corner and every snap at receiver, and you want him to go out there and run block, and for a team that, well, the rest of them couldn't run block either, so he just fit right in at Colorado. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think the frame is the big one. Is I think you're talking a $185 might even be generous. He's thin. I mean, certainly he's in shape for everything he does, playing 130 snaps a game. But no, I think that would be the one part, and I think that concerns me. The frame concerns me a little bit more if we're going to see him play both ways, because generally when he's gotten dinged up the last 2 years, it's been usually making tackles, right? He's got thin arms and, bang up a shoulder, a neck, or something like that. You don't see him as the most physical player ever with the way he's built, but he could stand to add a few pounds and be a little more physical. But I think, again, this is the argument, if he were to just play full receiver full time, how good could he be?
That's exactly
because
the
he
point,
was already arguably the best receiver in college football, playing both ways and doing everything that he was doing. You just wonder how freakish it would be. So I really believe he would be maybe a top 5 receiver at the NFL at some point if he played receiver full time.
He's the most unique prospect I could ever remember scouting in the NFL draft. Top 10 he'd be a top 10 pick if he was only a wide receiver, and he'd be a top 10 pick if he was only a corner.
He might be
as well.
He might be, maybe. We'll get to that episode. He might be CB1 also.
I think he will
you've
be
got
for
Will
me.
Johnson, you've got Jahdae Barron, right? You've got certain guys who are also really good, but the fact that he's even in the conversation for both, and he's at least top 2 in both. I mean, you still have him second above a ton of talented players here. It just shows you how freakish he is. And again, I think the football IQ matches it with him. It's so underrated.
He is just an excellent athlete as a receiver, elite ball skills, elite hands. Again, the frame, you could add some weight to the frame, and I think that would help his physicality as well. But the fact that he was one of the best receivers and one of the best corners in college football at the same time is just truly unique and points to a high ceiling if he sticks to one full time. So we don't know if he will stick to one full time. He might play both in the NFL, but Travis Hunter is a special talent no matter where you play him. Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.